Hello, everyone. This is Stan, and welcome to a brand new episode of Ignored and Underestimated. And I would like you all to meet my guest, Barbara, and she will be telling you all about herself today and her journey. And Barbara, it's great to have you today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Okay. And just go ahead and just tell us whatever you want to share.
Okay, so I am visually impaired, which is different from blindness because blindness is when you can't see anything. Visual impairment means that you have some vision on some level. Um, I have had issues with my eyes since I was born. I was actually born premature, and because I was born premature, my uh, a nurse gave me mouth-to-mouth resuscitation for 2.5 hours before I breathed on my own. So that affected my vision pretty bad.
Wow.
And though I could see pretty well, my eyes have always been weak. I had my first eye surgery when I was 5. And so I was also born hypoglycemic. Well, hypoglycemic is the opposite of diabetic, and the issue is that through depression in my teens, I began to eat pretty badly. I mean, I ate everything. I ate Cheetos, I ate popcorn, I ate cookies. I mean, I would literally eat a bag of Oreos in a sitting. It was pretty bad. And so my sugar just went off the roof. So I went from hypoglycemic to diabetic. And so I was diagnosed with diabetic in 1989. And so it was 2003 when I was diagnosed with diabetic retinopathy, which means that both my retinas had detached from the back of my eyes.
Oh, wow.
So that meant that I needed to have surgery to fix that. Well, the surgery to fix that, they can only do one eye at a time. And so the bummer about that is once they do the surgery, you have to lay on your stomach for 3 weeks with oil in your eye so that the retina reattaches to the back of your eye. So I went through that in both eyes, so the total of 6 weeks on my stomach, which was not fun. But then another of the issues is that you lose your peripheral vision because your retinas are specifically curved so that you can see out of either side. But when you have that surgery, it flattens your retinas out, so you have no more peripheral vision. So that was the first thing I lost. In addition to how I knew how I figured out what was going on or why I went to the doctor, is I stopped being able to see at night. So one of the things that I started having night blindness. And so that was the first thing that I noticed, and I went to the doctor because I thought, oh, I need a new prescription and my glasses and all that kind of stuff. Well, it turned out that what was really happening is that my eyes had detached from the back of my thing. I didn't know how bad it really was because 2003 is the year that I moved to Atlanta. I was still driving at the time. I drove from St. Louis to Atlanta. It was about 560 miles. I went to see the doctor in September. It was December when he told me I should probably stop driving. So I had to give up my car in January of 2004. So this year makes 20 years since I've driven.
Oh, wow.
Which was painful.
Devastating?
Devastating. Yeah. I mean, because I'm one of those people that I would just go out and drive the back roads. That's how I would chill.
That was your
I'd go,
independence.
yeah, I'd get out and drive the back roads and find little out of the way spots, especially those little out of the way antique stores and stuff like that. Because
Boutiques and stuff.
yeah, stuff that you don't usually find. Matter of fact, when I was a teenager, that was one of the things we used to love to do. My family and I would pile in the car and go find some little town and find the little out of the way shop that had stuff, and just hunting through those little things and finding stuff was one of the fun things that I did as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And when you can't see, that's not something you can do anymore. So that was
right.
I lost that, So a lot of regret behind, because in some ways I did this to myself. Mm-hmm. So there's that guilt and that shame from having done this to myself that I had to get through and get over and learn to forgive myself. So that was a big deal. Then there's you get visually impaired, and so what really frustrated me is that my doctor, who is a great guy, I love him. He'd been my doctor for 20 years, but did he tell me that now that you're visually impaired, there's a place in town where you can go and get trained? No. Mm-hmm. I had a friend, God love her, who loved me enough to say, there's got to be some place that can help her. And she went out and found it. Mm-hmm. So while I was laying on my stomach, she went and found some help for me, which I will ever be grateful for her for that. And so I found the Center for the Visually Impaired, but I couldn't go there for a year because I still had to get my vision settled.
Right.
So it took a year, so I had my surgery in my left eye in April, in my right eye, I'm going backwards, but in my right eye
I did the same thing
in August. And so, but they did the cataract in my left eye first. Well, my left eye scarred.
Ooh.
And so I have very little vision in my left eye. I do have some vision, but very little vision. Mm-hmm. But in my right eye, I had 20/80. Up until very recently. And then last year, some glaucoma got in there, some extra pressure, because one of the things that your eyes do is that when you're diabetic, if you don't keep your blood sugar under control as you should, your eyes start growing extra blood vessels, and those extra blood vessels cause more pressure. So even though I've been really working on it, I'm still having some issues. Because your body chemistry changes so much. And, I used to be able to eat carrots. Now I can't eat carrots. Carrots send my blood pressure through the roof. It's crazy.
Isn't it crazy how things that used to not affect you just totally throw your body out of whack, or things that you used to could eat you can't even tolerate anymore?
Exactly.
But I do want to go back to something you said earlier about how when you were looking for resources, you couldn't find anything, and other people went and there got to be something out here. And that's a problem that a lot of people who have physical challenges, their resources, or they're not readily available or easy to find. And sometimes you have to hunt and go through hell. And even the ones that you do find are not that good, or you get services that are so bare bones that they're not even worth getting.
Right. And the other thing is about them being bare bones and not worth getting is the people that are supposed to be helping you, especially, so I don't know if this is true in your community, but in the visual impaired community, people who help us tend to think, oh, we're going to help them, the poor little people, but they're never going to be able to do anything. Literally.
Oh.
Literally. In the blind community, unemployment is 74%.
I'm not surprised, but honestly, that's why I call it ignored and underestimated, because they literally see us and they think that we can't do anything. They honestly look at us and they go, well, they're disabled or they're physically challenged and they have something, so they can't do anything. They can't benefit society in any way.
Right, exactly. Okay, yeah. Well, I mean,
And I know.
I might be pushing a cane around,
Uh-huh.
but I am also nationally certified in strengthening families.
Mm-hmm.
I am one of 200 professionals that specialize in parenting education in the nation,
Mm-hmm.
and I've been on. I'm one of the few people in the National Parenting Educators Network,
Mm-hmm.
and I was actually, before this happened back in 22, I was on the board
Mm.
and helping out and helping craft what was happening in my field.
Mm-hmm.
So don't tell me because I lost a little more vision, I'm not capable. That's crap.
Right. It's like one of the guys that was actually in one of my previous videos, Kyle. He works he works for a nonprofit organization. He has a life outside of his disability. He does things, and the thing is, people got to realize, just because we have an obstacle in our way doesn't mean that we're not gonna still live our life to the fullest, 100%.
Right.
So.
Right.
And I have said it multiple times over the times I've done this video. I've never let anybody said to me stop me. Anytime somebody told me I couldn't do something, I said, watch me.
I hear you.
I said, watch me. Actually, that sets a fire under me, and I will do it just out of spite to prove to you that I can do it.
Exactly.
So, right now, I've been doing this for since last year. I'm trying to get more content on here, which I'm going to be focusing on. I'm gonna, right after this video, which I'm going to post. Well, after this one, I already have the next one lined up, so that's going to be coming up right after I get back from vacation.
Mm-hmm.
I have some other things that are going to be coming up over the next few months, so there's going to be big things coming up in 2024.
Yeah, so, I hear you.
I
hear you.
But you've obviously had to make, changes to your life over the years. Well, we all have to adapt to things.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, but it's, you either adapt to it or life is just going to roll over you and just keep moving anyway.
Right. I mean, it's, so one of the things that when I was in CVI the first time, I'm back at CVI because my vision has changed, and so I'm learning some things. But the first time, I already knew who I was. I know what I wanted to do. I had a nonprofit that was getting off the ground. I won an award because I was so positive, and people were like, "Oh, you just keeping going." I'm like, I don't have time for you. Look. People, I gotta move on.
Right. It's like you have things that you got to do. It's like people think just because you have something that gets in your way that's just gonna stop you and derail you. You're gonna get. We get a little sidetracked for a minute. We get caught in our feelings for a minute. We feel a little hopeless for a moment, but then we have to get up. We have to push on. We have to go. You know what? This is just a stepping stone, and I'm going to use it to build a bigger platform.
Exactly. And one of the things that really, so I love that people want to help.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I noticed being visually impaired, people really want to help, but instead of asking questions, they just reach out to help. I cannot tell you the number of times I'm moving my cane and somebody grabs my cane to try and move me around. I'm like, you're grabbing my cane is the same as you're grabbing somebody else's eyes. Please don't do that.
So I'm glad you're bringing it, and I'm glad you're bringing it up, because we've had me and a couple other people that have done videos, we've all brought this up. It's okay to offer to help, but don't just arbitrarily grab somebody or grab something
Drives
because
me crazy.
it does. Like I tell people, I'm at work. I'm sitting down for 8 hours a day, but I will be grabbing stuff for customers, little old ladies who are like 5 feet, and I will grab and I'm like, "Ma'am, do you need some help?" She's like, yeah, but I'll find somebody to get." I'm like, "Ma'am, I can get that for you." She's like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Ma'am, I'm 6'4" and I have a long wingspan." She's like, "Okay." Or if I'm trying to grab something, somebody be like, "Oh, do you need some help?" I'm like, "I got it, but I appreciate it." Now, if you ask me, I would say, "Thank you, but I got it." Or, "Yeah, sure." I don't mind if you ask,
Right.
but don't arbitrarily just do something.
Right.
It drives me nuts.
Well, it's disrespectful. I
It
am
really is.
I mean, I am. Excuse my French. I'm a grown ass woman. I really, if I need your help, I know how to ask.
Right. Oh, trust me. We spicy language is allowed. We don't we do a little. I tell people, I will tell you if I need your damn help. Okay. And like you say, I'm a grown ass man, and if I need your help, I will ask for it. Like my friends, like when I go out with my friends, they won't even who are ambulatory, who don't have physical issues. They 9 times out of 10, they won't even ask me unless they think they will know when to ask me if I need help. But 9 times out of 10, they know I got it.
Mm-hmm.
So when they do ask me if I need help, they're like, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah." Or, "You need some help?" "Okay, cool. Like, I'm getting ready to go out of town for a while, so I'm gonna go visit some friends or whatever. This is my second trip." But when I went there the first time, my friend at first was like, "Let me help you with this." And then he's like, "Oh, never mind, you got it. Okay, you tell me when you need help." like he has his house. There's no ramp to get into the house,
Right.
So it's stairs. I use my chair and I get up them stairs to get in the house. But once I get in the house, my chair is parked at the stairs, and I walk up the stairs.
Right.
Up to the second floor,
Right.
and because I can do that, and people don't think about that because they see it, but they don't know. They see you, but they don't know what your limitations are.
Right.
They assume.
Well, yeah, you know what they say when you assume.
Right, and my thing is this with kids, and my thing is this, and I tell people with kids and whatever, I don't mind kids asking questions. I've said this before on the platform. Kids can ask me a question because I'm gonna give them a very simple. I'm gonna give you a prime example. Monday, I was at work. A little kid saw me in my chair. They came through my line sheet and they were like, "What? What's wrong? Why are you in the chair?" "Oh, I just get tired. It helps me get around." And the kid was like, "Oh, okay."
No, it did.
And the dad was like, and I said, "Yeah, sir." I said, "I answer kids. I give kids a very simple. I say, sir, I give kids a very simple answer that they can understand."
Mm-hmm.
And I give the adults the more complicated answer.
Right.
So they could. But and he's like, "Yeah," but I like the fact that the dad didn't stop the kid from asking the question.
Right.
Because that irritates me when the kids ask a question. Let them ask a question.
Right.
Let them be inquisitive, because that's the problem with kids today. They don't ask enough questions.
Well, I mean.
Well, the parents are not letting the kids ask.
Yeah, because because they're afraid their kids are gonna. It's rude, but it's not rude to ask a question.
Because if you don't let them ask a question, then they're gonna assume things, and then they're gonna also be afraid to talk to people.
That's exactly it.
Because the one thing growing up, especially for me, growing up as a kid with a disability, it's hard to make friends if these kids are afraid to approach you.
Look, I'm telling you, the funniest thing. Okay, I am a bigger woman,
Mm-hmm.
but I ain't that big.
Mm-hmm.
And it cracks me up. I'm walking down the street,
Mm-hmm.
and my cane only swings from shoulder to shoulder.
Right.
I mean, it's not swinging way this way or way that way, right? Yeah. The people cross the street. I'm like, really? Are you kidding me? It's ridiculous.
Okay, they're acting like you're swinging it around like you're Wonder Woman or something.
Exactly. Really? Like I'm gonna take this cane and I'm gonna hit you upside the head, and I can't even see you half the time.
And I had people do the same thing with me when I'm rolling down a sidewalk in my chair. But then I have people who are so rude that don't want to get out of your way.
Oh, I don't have that as much because I think they're afraid that they will be hit with the cane. So.
Oh, yeah. I will tell you, if I've said excuse me 3 times and my voice is getting deeper and louder, after that first or second time, I'm going to run your foot over. Because if you're not, I'm sorry, if you're not paying attention,
right,
and you're just trying to be, an ass, or you're just ignoring people, okay.
Right. You'll remember next time.
Yeah, you're going to remember when you got almost 400 pounds, including between the chair and me, going over your foot. Yeah.
Yeah, you'll remember that.
Yeah, you'll remember that when your toes are,
when you're in the doctor's office, because he's taping those toes together.
Right. But
I hear you.
But it's crazy, the different things that we have to deal with.
It is. But what's also crazy is that people don't think so. For instance, I was telling a friend of mine recently about the fact that I make most of my food from scratch. I do not like boxed food. I do not. I don't. Okay. And they're like, "You cook?" I'm like, "Yes."
Mm-hmm.
Well, I just didn't think blind people could cook. I was like, "Oh, really?"
My friend Tony, who's been blind since birth, he actually went to school. He knows how to cook. He actually went to a school in Louisiana back in the early 2000s when he was in his early 20s. And he went there, and he's actually going to hopefully do a video at some point. And he actually learned how to cook from scratch, like baking from scratch, like measuring stuff from scratch and all that stuff. And he hates it. But he can do it. He don't do it. But he can do it.
He can do it.
He can do it. But he hated it because that was the way that they taught him. Mm-hmm. Because they're like, this is the way that you need to learn how to do it.
Right.
So, but before you were, more visually impaired, you were sitting there probably reading the recipes when you could see it a little bit better. And so, of course, you were cooking, and so
and now I love technology because now Alexa, Siri, they will read the recipe to me, right? So there are tools that are available to me that help me do. Oh, sorry.
And speaking of, I have one of those smart speakers too. So yeah, I have a smart speaker. I have lots of connected devices in my apartment. So
right.
But it's because of technology, and and that's the great thing about now, especially for people with disabilities. Technology has come a long way and really helped people in a lot of ways.
It's made a lot of difference for me. I tell you what, I love me some Apple. Because I had an Android for a while, but now that I have my iPhone, it makes all the difference in the world. And you know what?
My friend had a iPhone for a while. He hated it. Now he's back to Android.
Oh, really?
Yes, because and the thing is, he's the one that's blind since birth. He had Android all his life. He got an iPhone, had it for a while, and he went back to Android. He had so many. He liked some of the accessibility options for the iPhone for people that were visually impaired, but overall he couldn't wait to get back. So I am an Android person, but I don't have a. I always tell people iPhone is for. There are people that are iPhone users, and I don't have a problem with it as long as people are just respectful about it. But
exactly.
There are people that are so bougie and offensive about the iPhone thing that it just
ridiculous.
Because I'm like, they act like their phones are the best in the world, but
it's a preference thing.
It really is. It's a preference thing because But let's talk about the technology part because Apple has some stuff that they use. Android has a lot of stuff that they use. I will say this, Apple has a lot of devices and apps and different things that they do, but you're finding, I've seen that they are making a lot more Android or Google related stuff that are going to be interconnected for things because more people have those devices.
Well, yeah, and I mean, as much as I love my Apple, I also love my Alexa.
Yeah, and see the see the thing is that, and see the one thing that I do like about the Android devices,
Mm-hmm.
they're more interconnectable with other devices.
Right.
Apple is all in their
Apple.
universe.
Yeah, yeah, they don't
So-
go outside their universe.
Right.
You're right about that.
But Amazon, a lot of their stuff, like their Amazon devices, like I was talking to a friend of mine. He's got a tablet. You can't add certain apps to their tablet because it's locked.
That drove me crazy because for a long time I was a Nook user, and then I got a Fire, and I couldn't access my Nook. I was like, wait, where's that? I was so annoyed by that.
And see, I know people that have had, I know people that have like Fire tablets for reading and Fire tablets for other stuff. I'm more of I have a tablet, but I actually have a Galaxy tablet. I have a Samsung.
Mm-hmm.
But pretty much all my mobile devices are Samsung though. But that's just me.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what I prefer.
Right. I mean, and that's the beauty of the wide world of technology. You find what you love and you use it.
Right. But I will say this, but as time has gone, technology, especially for people with disabilities or physical challenges, because the word disability, I like to use physical challenges a little bit. I think it's a better word.
I think you're right.
I think it's a better term.
It is a better term.
So I think for people with physical challenges and stuff, technology has definitely come a long way, and but we need better access to things.
Well, I mean, I think that's true across the board.
Because,
like you were saying earlier,
because when it comes to healthcare, when you're trying to get certain services and stuff, depending on your state, depending on the services that they have available, not everything is going to be, we're in Georgia. Georgia is kind of shitty when it comes to certain things.
Oh boy, okay. So the person who is trained to help those of us who are visually impaired,
mm-hmm.
they're called VRT, Visual Rehabilitation Technologies.
Right.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
There are 5 in the state of Georgia.
5 in the whole state?
There are 5 in the state of Georgia.
And how many people that are visually impaired do they have to deal with?
More than 5.
I'm sure. I'm sure.
There's more than 5 in this building.
Right.
Forget the city of Atlanta and the state of Georgia.
Right. And I'm going to give you a prime example of something. I was talking to Social Security about an issue. And the girl that I was talking to about this issue, she said, I have 700 cases, and I'm the only person dealing with them right now.
Oh, goodness. Poor darling.
In the state of Georgia.
Right.
Because we don't have enough help.
Right.
But that's the thing that we're dealing with. I mean,
yeah.
And I have friends in other states, the state that I'm going to this weekend. I have friends in other countries. I have a friend in Copenhagen, and he talks about their healthcare and the things that they have available. I have friends in, different places. And it's sad that when it comes to healthcare, we are so far behind other places. Even like my friend of mine who has I have a friend of mine and their spouse is going through some stuff right now, and it's sad that because of healthcare, we have to deal with doctors and then medications, and we have the issues with they either got to figure out the right medications, or they over medicate you, or they just throw stuff at you without actually taking the time to figure out what's going on with you.
Well, see, the problem in the United States
mm-hmm.
is that our medical system is so wrapped up in capitalism that people are more interested in throwing a pill at you because of the kickback they get than really helping you to overcome whatever issue you're dealing with.
Yeah, there's no money in cures.
There's no, yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So.
And so, but in other countries, they don't, capitalism isn't a thing, and doctors are still being doctors and looking for cures and helping people get well and all those kind of things. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was telling you, before we started filming that I am going to actually start focusing. I want to actually start focusing on outside of physical stuff. I'm also going to start focusing on the mental side of things.
Oh,
so I'm actually going to start having conversations with people who deal with mental illness. I used to deal with depression. I don't anymore. I still have the occasional seasonal stuff, but I don't have the long-term stuff like I used to.
Yeah.
And it's a conversation that we need to have, especially for men and women in this country.
Exactly.
Especially for men. I think it's definitely a good conversation we need to have.
Yeah, last year in November, I went to a program. I belong to the Gathering Spot.
It's, you were telling me.
Yeah. And there was a gentleman who doing his dissertation on grief. And in 2023, he was focused on African American male grief and how there's no real avenues for African American men to deal with their grief. There's just nobody's talking about it.
The thing is, people were not talking about it where we are now.
Exactly.
And the thing is, there are people talking about it now because there are artists that are talking about it, and we'll talk about it later. But there's some artists that I follow that talk about it, and they're putting it out there, and they're calling because it's a really good subject. It's a heavy subject because it's something close to me, and I'll talk about that more separate. So we're going to get back to you and this, because this has been a good conversation.
I've enjoyed it.
I enjoy talking to people about stuff. So anything else you want to let people know about you, about your journey, about what you hope for,
Well, one of the things that so I told you earlier that, I nationally certified something. So I have a book that I'm in the process of. It's at the editor now. I've got another chapter that I realized the book needs one more chapter. So I'm going to finish that up. And then my goal is to start a school for people who want to go into parenting training. And I'm specifically thinking about parent ministry because it's really interesting to me that you'll hear about churches and have family ministry, but nobody's really talking about parenting in churches.
Okay.
When they talk about parenting in churches, they're talking about parents teaching their kids about the Bible, but they're not talking about how do you deal with this 5-year-old who's kicking your butt.
Okay, right, okay.
And that's what I specialize in.
Okay.
And so I want to start training parent ministers in how do you really help parents not just deal with teaching their kids about biblical things, but teaching their kids about how to get through life.
Okay.
So that's the thing that so I think it's really important for people to realize that just because we have physical challenges, as you say, mental challenges, as you say, doesn't mean that we don't also have purpose, and we don't also have something that we are called to do, that we've been sent to the planet to accomplish, and we're not letting these challenges get in our way, just as other people don't let challenges get in their way.
One of my favorite quotes I heard somebody say, as long as you have a breath, you have a purpose.
I love that. Do you know who said that?
I can't remember. I don't know if it was Oprah or somebody. It was somebody. I heard somebody say something similar to that years ago. But it's like, as long as you got a breath in your body, you got a purpose.
I'm gonna have to go home and ask Alexa when I get home.
But I do want to thank you again for sitting down with me and talking with me today. It was a pleasure. And you definitely gonna have to keep me up to date on the school and the book and everything, and we can post an update and any of the subscribers, please comment, and if you have any questions. And I want to thank you all today. And this has been a great interview for Ignored and Underestimated. This is Miss Barbara.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I really appreciate it. It's a great conversation. Well, conversations with you are always great, but this was a fun one.
Right. And we will see you guys next time.
Bye, y'all.